Right, welcome to We Got a Problem, guys. So yesterday on the ITV show Good Morning Britain, they had a debate about feminism in response to the Tory party leadership candidate Dominic Raab saying he probably wasn't a feminist. Now let's take a quick look at the clip to get some context before we continue.
Would you describe yourself as a feminist?
No, probably not. But I would describe myself as someone who's a champion of equality and meritocracy. And, you know, my wife and I are a two-salary couple. I support her as much as she supports me. And I'm all for working women making the very best of their potential. And that's something that's really important to me.
So you heard him say there he is a champion of equality and meritocracy, meaning equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome, which is what feminism is about in 2019. So I'm not surprised he doesn't identify as a feminist. It makes perfect sense considering what he believes. But let's play some of the actual interview between the ITV hosts and the feminist and the, I suppose you would call her an anti-feminist, although she's not. She's just someone that actually looks at the statistics. And
So I wonder what he thinks feminism means if it's not his own description of it.
So, is it ever OK to say that you're not a feminist? We're joined by Natasha Devon, who believes any potential leader needs to be focused on equality, and Kate Andrews, who says she's glad Raab isn't a feminist and believes the majority of women aren't either. Well,
it's not that she believes it. There are studies proving this. A lot of women do not like feminists more than men do. Women being abused online is among the majority of cases women attacking other women. The host also asked the question, is it okay to say you're not a feminist? Now, is he demented? Of course it's okay to say you're not a feminist. You're allowed to decide what ideology you follow, if any, the same as a religion or political party. The other host then follows up with what is his idea of feminism if it's not what he said. I'm pretty sure he knows what the current wave of feminism is. It's a man-hating ideology with a manifesto based around villainizing men as predators, telling men they should be better, and complaining about imaginary wage gaps while screaming at anyone who disagrees with them. There's feminism right now, and I expect that's what he fully believes it is.
oh, interesting.
The question is, what does he think feminism means? Because what he said there seemed to be what you would want, Natasha, which is equality and potential to be reached for women.
No, this feminist does not want women to reach their potential. She wants it to be given to them because they have a vagina. Potential has got nothing to do with it. She doesn't care about a woman's potential. She cares about just making sure that women get something that they don't deserve. If a woman deserves something, she deserves it. She has earned it, which is a meritocracy. What feminism is asking for is just give it to us because we're a woman and we're oppressed. That's not the same.
Yeah.
So is he one, but he just doesn't know it and doesn't like the word?
I think this is all symptomatic of a really worrying trend that's happened recently, whereby we've seen the same recycled bigotry that was thrown at the suffragettes, Germaine Greer, you know, feminists throughout the centuries. But every new wave of feminism that comes along, you have a right-wing lobby trying to discredit it, taking the most extreme and most easy to ridicule examples of what a feminist is, trying to undermine equality. But you would think as a future leader that Dominic Raab, rather than trying to pander to popular opinion, would have recognised that and would do what he could to try and reclaim the term as what it actually means, which is just equality for everyone.
Right, well, I'm glad she actually acknowledged that the popular opinion of feminism is that it's not a good thing. Because in its current forms, with these radical nutjobs screaming at people about their imagined oppressions, there's nothing good about it at the moment. She's delusional to think that there is. I mean, why would anyone want to? It beggars belief. They act like crazy people. There's countless videos you can see of them going on absolute mental tirades about nothing. It's a joke.
Kate, why is it an issue? What have you got against the term feminism, and why can't people like Dominic Raab, why shouldn't they come out and be very supportive of the term?
Well, I think, unfortunately, it doesn't mean equality for anyone, for everyone anymore. I think that's what the term meant decades ago. I think the first and second wave feminism cared about equality in the workplace, control over our bodies, things that really make men and women equal. But the reality is that modern day feminism is more interested in talking about sex strikes and getting Formula One to ban the grid girls than it actually is in the issues that I think still really face women.
I think, as Natasha just said, I don't hear that very often, sex strikes. I don't hear that so much. It is, people would,
all of the
I think if you
modern
ask people
feminist
what feminism was, they would say it is essentially about equality.
Well, it's a very good point, because when you do ask women if they're feminists, the majority say no. A study this year found that over 90% of women don't identify as feminists. A more generous study last year found that 65% of women don't identify as feminists because they understand that equality and feminism are no longer synonyms. To be honest, to be a feminist is to ooze a political ideology just as being a party member is these days, because there is a manifesto. And if you hold a different opinion on the gender pay gap or on sex strikes or on porn laws, you're not allowed in the club. You're told you're the wrong kind of woman. That's why most women don't identify.
And there it is. The other woman has called it exactly as it is. Years ago, women needed feminism to fight for the rights they have now. That time has long since passed us by. The feminists of today are sitting here in a first world country with the exact same rights as men, complaining about F1 grid girls who choose to do that job, complaining about the portrayal of women in video games and other media, while around the world women are oppressed. Yet they won't go there and fight for these women's rights, will they? Of course not, they would have to leave their safe spaces. This woman goes on to state, studies showing between 65 and 90% of women don't identify as feminists because it oozes of a political ideology, just like being a political party member does. Because if you disagree with them, you're the wrong kind of woman, which I think is an accurate statement to make about feminism.
It's exactly what I'm talking about. This is the reason that more and more women aren't identifying with the word. That's a tragedy, and it's because of this stereotype that is being pandered by publications like yours and by journalists like you. You know, when I think of the fourth wave feminist, I think of Nimco Ali, who's campaigning to end FGM. I think of Amika George, who's successfully campaigned to end period poverty in schools. I think of Ellen Jones, who's doing so much for women with autism. I think
of Malala Yousafzai.
Malala Yousafzai, yeah,
education for women in Pakistan.
Jessica Foster-Q, who wants women in Northern Ireland to be able to choose whether or not they have an abortion. These are the women that represent the movement, but they are never represented by people who want to undermine the movement.
Well, no, let's be honest here, they're not represented by the celebrities, by the Lena Dunhams of the world, who are actually championing the modern-day definition of feminism. You just named some fantastic women, but this ideology of feminism is not what's supporting them anymore.
Michael, we've had loads of reaction to this. Michael on Twitter says, feminism seems to be an ugly word these days, and many feminists seem to be dictating to other women what they can do and demonising men in the process. It doesn't seem to stand for equality anymore, rather than select what it wants. Is that the problem, that actually, that perhaps Dominic Raab and others don't want to say they are feminists because they think that that means you're anti-men?
You're absolutely right, that's why they don't want to say they are feminists. I mean, look at the start of the clip where the feminist starts off attacking the other woman and her publication because they don't agree with her biased views. That's feminism in 2019, I'm afraid. We then hear an audience comment reinforcing the public's views on feminism and how it's not about equality, how they just dictate to other women what they should do while attacking men in the process.
It's not just Dominic Raab. He
No,
represents
exactly,
the majority of women in this case, right? Most women don't want to identify with this because if you are a free thinker, you know, I'm attacked for publications like mine. My publication actually breaks down statistically what the gender pay gap is in the UK. And if you take job and age into account, women are doing very, very well compared to their male counterparts. But goodness forbid I say that. I can't
be in the club, I can't be a feminist. In lots of places, so equality isn't there. And somebody...
No, sorry. Equal pay for equal work has been illegal since 1970. If that is taking place, you take your employer to court. Women and men are equal in many, many aspects in 2019. Let's be really careful about the language we use.
In the last few years, in many industries, the gender pay gap has been shown that it's not been equal.
No, that's not equality. We need to be really careful about this. The gender pay gap and equal pay are not the same thing. Sure. If anyone dares to say they are, they're misrepresenting the statistics to women. No, and we are accused of not being feminists and not being good women because we're interested in maths, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
You see them try to shut her down there when she called out the complete bullshit behind the gender pay gap myth. To get their gender pay gap, they have to disregard everything and take a very biased approach to the data. It's been debunked multiple times. Take Google, for instance. They checked their own gender pay gap each year and found out it was men who had been underpaid. The woman also points out how equal pay for equal work has been a legal requirement for decades, but the feminists and hosts are determined to push their deranged agenda, even in the face of countless studies on the subject and a law preventing it.
jobs.
No. So the most recent statistics shows that the 10,000 companies that have submitted their salaries to a public inquiry, around 10,000 companies, 8,000 of them, there was a significant difference in the median pay between men and women. Now, you might argue that it's illegal to pay two people doing the same job a different salary, but we need to ask why, as a society, we are devaluing the work that is generally done by women. That's the real question to be asked of the gender pay gap.
I would love to see actual evidence that we are devaluing the work that women do.
Literally just gave it to you.
No, you didn't. You are trying to take crude statistics, and you're trying to be able to say that because of these crude statistics that don't take anything meaningful into account, job, age, background. You're literally comparing the CEO of a company to the 22-year-old researcher, and you're trying to tell me that this is unequal, that this isn't feminist, that we have a major issue on our hands. I'm saying actually engage with my statistics. Don't just point fingers and tell the majority of women who don't identify as feminists they're committing some kind of sin.
So, of course, the next logical step for the feminists is to say women are undervalued, alluding to the fact that a lot of jobs women choose to do are not as well paid as some jobs that men choose to do. What she is completely ignoring is the fact wages are set by market conditions. If the market for a certain skill is in high demand, but with little supply to fill that demand, the price for labour will increase, hence wages will go up. This is why female footballers do not make the same as male footballers. Men's football is far more lucrative due to the massive interest in it. Women's football does not have that, hence players make less than the men do due to there being less money in the game compared to men's football. This other lady is on point because she is smart and is not following an ideology, she is following facts.
There is a divide then in terms of there is sort of a modern feminism, but then there are millions of women around the world who are still waiting for basic rights. You look at women in Saudi Arabia, you look at women in other parts of the world who are meant to be able to drive but they can't, or if they dance they are persecuted, or the abuse that women get online. You know, we've heard from MPs, Jess Phillips, you know, somebody saying I wouldn't rape you. You know, all of that sort of stuff is still stuff that feminism needs to be fighting against, isn't it?
So there we have it. The media had to bring up the Sargon of Akkad I would not rape you joke like it's something terrible. This host thinks feminism needs to fight against dark comedy. Yeah, sounds like the feminist movement sucking the joy out of everyone's life is what they want.
And you know what? I used to believe, and I did actually write a piece for The Telegraph in 2013 in which I said, you know, this is what modern feminism is. It's all about banning page 3 and grid girls and all the things that have been cited already. I had fallen into that classic trap of believing what feminism was as portrayed by right-wing rhetoric. I then took the time to educate myself and spend time with feminist campaigners. And I realised that feminism is a very broad church. There's a lot of debate. There's a lot of people who stand for different things. But ultimately, everybody is working towards their version of equality, and it's like a patchwork quilt. You have your patch that you sew, whatever it is you're passionate about, but there are lots of British feminists who are fighting for women overseas as well.
Hey, if you're not a feminist, then you're a Hey, if you're not a feminist, then you're a right-wing fascist, according to this feminist idiot. She definitely thinks Dominic Raab is a right-wing fascist now then. She even admits to writing an article about how page 3 girls need to be banned. My guess is she only hated page 3 girls and grid girls because she knew she was far too butch to do the job herself.
I think it's very obvious from this conversation that feminism isn't a broad church. We've heard attacks on right-wing women. We've heard attacks on women who are interested in statistics. We've heard attacks on women who would dare question the orthodoxy of feminism. I think all this proves to me that as much as I would like it to be a broad church, as much as I would like us to have those debates, most women cannot fit into the very narrow box that fourth wave feminism has brought on. Most women, of course, I mean, virtually all people believe in equality, but you can't fit into this narrow box.
Fourth wave means. I've never heard of it. I don't really...
If you dare step outside these orthodoxies, you're not welcome in the club.
They tried to shut her down again because she is right. They don't like it that normal women don't follow their narrow-minded view of these radical feminists. She calls out their attacks on right-leaning women and any woman who points out statistical fact that rubbishes the feminist narrative. Because that is the ideology of a feminist. If you're not with us, then you're against us, and you're also a right-wing fascist, so get out of our club. That is literally what they will do to each other.
Example, if we just said, you know, humanism and individualism was the way forward, homosexuality, for example, we had to concentrate on homosexuality. We had to support that group, and without supporting them, without singling out the discrimination they received, they would never have had the rights that they have now. And surely feminism does the same thing. It supports, all it's doing is making the focus and the support for women's rights. That cannot be a bad thing. That can only be a good thing. Now, surely it's like, OK, some people are going to misuse that. Some people are going to become more extreme in that version. But the very basics of feminism you have to own, surely.
If we're looking at the groups that actually champion gay people, women, trans people, you should look to the classical liberals. You should look to those who are fighting for those civil rights. I wish that what you said were true. I wish that feminism were championing the rights of people, but is much more interested these days. The celebrities are much more interested in making headlines about sex strikes and about grid girls than they are about the very important issues that you discuss. So I wish we lived in that world, but the reality is that we don't, and I think feminism has now been dominated.
I think the listener gave earlier. I mean, you know, I think
most women don't live in that world that you're talking about. Most women don't identify with the feminism that you wish existed.
And let's all shout her down again, because that's equality, isn't it? Great bit of feminism there. I do like this woman, though. Once again, she is right on the money. The big stories about feminism these days are celebrities jumping on the virtue signalling bandwagon to try and maintain some relevance. They don't care about the average woman's daily life. They only care about themselves and how they can keep themselves in the public eye. I love how she shuts them down at the end by saying most women don't live in that world. Most women don't identify with the feminism you wish existed. That's how you deal with liars. You use facts. So that's going to be the end of the video, guys. Damn, it was painful watching that. I think the young lady put her points across well, considering it was a 3 versus 1 debate. Her reliance on facts and real statistics from unbiased research left these clowns with no hope of winning the argument. The feminist stuck to the stereotype of the current generation feminist by attacking people who disagree with her. Now let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Hit the like button and share the video as it helps a lot. Thanks for watching, guys.
Man's gonna kill this shit. You'll need SWAT and medics too. Off with the contract credits due. Punchline king, I'm ahead of you. A your knees where you're heading to. Whip is green but the lights are blue. Bars are shit, take the mic from you. Heating up cheese, I don't like fondue.